I'm Matt Wiederhold. Welcome to another edition of Medina Minute. Today we're going to sit down and talk with some of the faces and the people that you see around town and learn a little bit more about their stories and how they ended up in our town. Well, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Medina Minute. Today we're here with George Sam. George, thanks so much for coming in today.
Sure.
So you and I have a work relationship. You
Yes.
came into the office and wanted to volunteer, and you ended up being hired as staff.
I know. Totally blew me away.
What first brought you to Medina? How did you end up in this little town?
I'm originally from Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh area. I grew up in a small town in the Steel Belt.
Okay.
And worked with community stuff all my life. When you're from a small town and you're blue collar, the only way to do things is to do them yourself. You know, in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of disinvestment. So it was just a basically community grassroots development, trying to build it up. I worked for First Energy pretty much my entire life.
Did you work for them when you were in Pennsylvania?
I did.
Okay.
It was called Allegheny Power. Allegheny Power was sold to First Energy in 2011 or 12, and I basically got transferred to Akron.
Okay.
So I worked at the same capacity, but with a totally new group. So that went on until about 2018 when they announced that they were going to retire me. I had already found a house in Medina.
Did you have a choice in that matter?
I was looking forward to it. I've been with them for 38 years.
All right.
So that was enough, and I was looking forward to early retirement.
Yeah.
Love Medina. Moved here in 2012 when I transferred here and bought a house. Loved the house, loved the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Loved Medina, and I decided I'm not leaving, I'm not going back. So my family comes here and they visit me here.
All right, cool. So, what did you do at First Energy and Allegheny Power?
I was in the communications department. I'm a graphic designer by nature. So design is my background. I also have a marketing degree. So it was always kind of a combination of the two, graphic design for the sake of marketing and promoting the company.
Yeah.
So that's
how did you get interested in graphic design? Like as a kid, were you very creative? Were you always drawing or building things?
Always drawing, always building things, yeah. That's basically the start of it.
Yeah.
Doodling. That's how to start.
Did you study art at all, or is that just a gift of yours?
To the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. And I graduated from there doing line art and illustration and all these things that were all hands-on before. You did it on paper and board and machines weren't invented yet, so it was
old school.
Old school, yeah.
What is line art? What does that mean?
So line art is basically designing, you could do drawings, things like that end up in print, end up somewhere. So it's turning something into a graphic that can be advertised.
Yeah.
So you do hand drawings and things like that. Then there's illustration boards and things like that where you're preparing artwork for promoting in some way, either brochures or something, and it's all done on boards. So everything was done to set up for the printer on these boards, and you'd send those boards to the printer, and that's how it was done.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, when computers became a thing, then I was one of the first ones in the company to get a computer because they needed slides for the board.
Okay.
And slides to promote a bunch of things. So
was it like this massive box that sat on your desk?
It was a PC, just one of the first PCs with the monitor. They weren't fancy, they weren't colorful.
Yeah.
So,
were your parents creative? Like, where did this creativity come from?
Well, my uncle was an art teacher.
Okay.
First of all, my parents, they were both creative. My mom was always into crafts and design. My dad was more of a handyman than anything. He did a lot of, he worked first of all at Christie Park, which was a steel mill. He was a gauge maker. That was his daytime job. Then he was kind of a fix-it guy after that.
Nice.
Furnace repair, electrical. He built our house.
Oh, wow.
I didn't pick up those skills.
That's a handyman. Right. Wow, okay.
I didn't pick up those skills, so, but I went to the artistic side, and I went to music and art and things like that. That was what I was more interested in. Okay.
Now you said, obviously Medina is a smaller town or a small city, but you grew up in a small area as well. What is it that you like about small towns?
I lived in Pittsburgh, the city of Pittsburgh too, and they're all small towns. Whether you live in Pittsburgh or West Newton, which is where I come from, a very small town, it's all neighborhoods. So it really doesn't matter whether you come from a town of 2,000 or a neighborhood of 2,000, from a big city of thousands of people.
Sure.
It's about the connections with people on a small scale. And if it ends up being a patchwork of different things that builds a whole city, then fine. But it's the same thing I found.
Yeah.
In my experience with the Main Street program, when you all get together and people from different sizes of cities and towns talk, they're the same problems, the same solutions.
True.
You just need more people to do it on a larger scale.
Now you also did Main Street program work back in West Newton,
I did.
correct?
Yeah.
What kind of projects?
Certified.
What kind of projects did you do there that you kind of brought some of that expertise here to our community?
The Main Street program, the Main Street philosophy is the four things. So it's design, promotion, economic vitality, and organization. So you build on that philosophy.
Sure.
And it applies to West Newton, my small town back then, 20 years ago, and it applies today. It's a model that works really well.
Yeah.
Historic preservation was probably the first thing. We noticed we had buildings that were falling apart. We noticed that there was a lack of business investment. We noticed that people weren't taking care of their storefronts. The city wasn't putting flowers and stuff on the street. So that's what we did. You basically paint buildings, you put flowers on the blocks, you clean up the neighborhood, you talk to businesses about, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you move into this building?
Sure.
Talking to property owners, why don't you take care of your building? Just kind of making sure that you're involved in the process. You own nothing. So that's what they mean by grassroots. You have no investment and ownership, so you can't tell people what to do. It's all about influencing and motivating.
You want to, but you can't.
Yes. And that's the thing, like you still can do something. Even though you don't own anything, you still can make a difference.
You can influence that, right. So you moved here in 2012, okay. What made you reach out and want to get involved in the community? Like, what is that within you that's, I'm now retired, I want to get involved in my town? Most people don't do that.
It comes natural to me, first of all.
Okay.
So yes, it is an interest. And I didn't do it while I was working because I knew the investment of time that it would take.
Sure.
It's a lot of time. And I'm a committer. Once I'm in, I commit.
Yes.
So I'm a committer.
Yeah.
Whenever you take on something like this, it's almost like retirement was a perfect thing for me to approach you and say, now I'm ready to do this. And you surprised me with an offer, which I was able to do. But if you hadn't have made that offer, I still would have been involved in the committees. It's all about building the community through events, and my graphic design background can be used. Those talents can be used.
Yeah.
These other skills, like I said, communicating, public relations, events, raising money, it's all part of what I've done, and I feel comfortable with it and I enjoy it to some extent.
Okay.
So.
With your background, with your design background and what you're doing in West Newton, you've gotten also very involved in the arts community here in Medina. How does that resonate with you? Why is that important to you?
Because when you're a graphic designer working for a corporation, you're not really an artist. You're producing stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like a daily thing. It's a constant, you can't be really creative like you want to be.
Okay.
It's a business, so you have to promote the business and do things that fits the business model.
Right.
It's not necessarily what you're interested in or what I was interested in. So again, when I retired, I decided to investigate the arts community. There's a lot of awesome organizations in Medina County that really, I could be part of. But I was approached by them because someone knew that I was a graphic designer, and they asked if I could do graphic design for them. Okay. So I didn't get involved by joining the board. I got involved by doing marketing and web design and graphic design for them. And then I kind of needed to know, when you do that kind of stuff, what the mission is. And I kind of got interested in the mission, and I thought I could contribute something.
Yeah.
So it started there, served on the board for 2 years, worked my way up to vice president, now I'll be the president this year.
You're president.
President.
Very cool. So what do you see, what's your vision for the arts in Medina County? I know we've talked that there are a lot of people doing great stuff, but maybe they're not all working together. Yeah,
so to me, there's hidden gems. Medina County is one of those kind of strange things where we have an arts community, but it's not as pronounced as Cleveland's or as Akron's. So since I know very little, I can ask a ton of questions without being embarrassed. I come from Pennsylvania, so I'm learning about Medina County. I don't even know all the cities. I couldn't tell you how to get to Seville. I could guess, but I use Google. But to be able to go to these different communities and find out what they're about is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
Medina was interesting to me, and now I know more than I did. But to be able to be connecting to artists in these communities is kind of exciting.
Sure.
Who are you? What do you do? Why isn't this town building on that? Why aren't we?
Interesting.
That's kind of what I'm interested in.
Okay.
So the Arts Council, our position is that we support, nurture, and promote the arts.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be advocates for the arts, but we are not a group of artists that are doing art. We don't do performing arts, we don't do dance, we don't do theater, we don't do graphic arts or visual. We're there to support the arts in the county. So our thing is to reach out to places like the Arts League, Medina County Arts League, the Medina County Arts Foundation that does performing arts. Like, these are the kind of groups we want to connect with so that we can find out who's all there, promote them, give them some money from the community, and make them thrive. That's like the whole reason for being. So that kind of thing interests me.
So for the Arts Council, I just want to go back. It's not, when people think of the arts, they think of painting.
Right.
But for the Arts Council, so it's music, theater, all
Genres,
the performing,
all over
fine
the
arts.
place. Poetry, literature.
Yeah.
Art is many things. History.
Right.
Historical arts.
You're a busy guy.
Busy guy.
Do you? What do you do to wind down? Like, how do you escape from all of this?
It's funny because this is my winding down. Like, I enjoy this. It keeps me busy. I have my house is 1884, 6, something like that.
Okay.
It's a lot of work. So I do tinker around the house, doing remodeling and fixes and repairs. But I'm at this point in my life now where I've built good relationships with people. My family is healthy and happy. I have good friends. I already have all those things that give me value, personal value and happiness. So I feel blessed, very fortunate and blessed. So to me, being able to give back to the community is part of what I'm giving back because I am blessed.
Yeah. If you could take a dream trip, George Sam as the private citizen, as the artist, as the Main Street guy, as whatever, what would be your dream vacation? Money's no object, time's no object.
Dream vacation would probably be, I like Europe.
Yeah?
So European, like a villa in Tuscany would be pretty awesome. Yeah. Appetizers
that sounds
at 5.
Pretty lovely. All right.
Aperitif and appetizers at 5 and coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
Espresso in the morning.
There you go.
Something like that would be great.
Do you have Italian in your heritage?
I don't.
Okay, so it's just something
People
you love.
think I'm Italian, but
sometimes.
I'm not. Yes. So I'm actually
when you get
Syrian.
talking a little bit, sometimes you do.
Yeah, the hands.
Yeah.
I'm Syrian, which is kind of my father's heritage, and my mother's heritage was Serbian. So I have a little bit of Slav, that whole Eastern European thing.
Yeah.
And I also have the Middle East in my background.
It's interesting.
So I love the food.
Sure.
Syrian food is awesome.
Yeah. In your time off, you're an artist. You're a tinkerer. Do you have a hobby? Like, do you draw for your personal satisfaction? You're a reader?
No, this is my hobby.
You are a committed man.
This is it.
All right. So as the up and coming Mr. Medina, when you have people visit from out of town or when your family's in town, kind of what's your, doesn't have to be top 3, but what are some of your favorite things? Like, I want to take you here to dinner because the food's so good, or I want to take you to this store because it's so cool.
Well, they come here very often.
Okay.
So it's always something different.
Sure.
They do the typical things, root candle, Miss Molly's, like going to the things that my sisters enjoy is always on the menu. But trying out different restaurants, going to different places, like they've never been to Foundry Social, that's my next thing.
Okay.
Maybe we'll go-kart. We're all over 60. I could see it.
I want to be there for that day.
Yeah. The helmet.
What is it about this town that made it home for you?
It's everything I dreamed of my small town being.
Okay.
It's a little bit of, I like living here because I can walk. That was one thing. I can just sit down, enjoy a coffee and do some shopping with my neighbors, enjoy events at the square, It's everything that I think people at my age want to settle in.
Okay.
It's kind of like this becomes a vacation, where everything that you do is here. Why would you want to go anywhere else? I do go on vacations.
Sure.
I did the canopy tours where I
Really?
did zip lining and all that, so I'll do adventurous stuff.
All right.
But I love Medina.
What do you think is missing from town? Like, if you could add one or two things.
The arts.
Okay.
And that's why I'm really involved
Sure.
in both things with the arts. To me, we have entertainment. We don't have public art in Medina proper. We have a ton of artists. Why aren't we doing murals and sculptures and public art? Why isn't there more arts organizations kind of doing more at the square maybe? Or
Yeah.
I don't know about a lot of what's going on, and that's part of the problem. I think a lot of people don't know what's going on, even though
Sure.
there's a lot of stuff. Maybe we don't know what's going on half the time. So part of my job is try to build up
Yeah.
those connections. Oh, I didn't realize that there was all this stuff.
Sure. I know you've been working on Southtown for several years, and we've talked about that as an arts and entertainment district. What would you like to see come first? I mean, there's a lot of great stuff going on.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, if I could hand you the keys and say, okay, George, here you go, what is that?
For Southtown.
Yes.
So to me, Southtown is really busy. There's a lot of traffic.
Yes.
If you've ever tried to cross the road on Court Street, South Court,
It's tough.
tough.
Yeah.
So to me, it's making it more walkable.
Okay.
Making it kind of neighborhood friendly. I know the people that live around there probably have not gone there on a regular basis because it is kind of intimidating. When you try
Sure.
to cross the roads, you have to wait for the lights. When you try to cross, there's always traffic turning, there's always trucks turning. It's a little intimidating, so I'd like to soften it and
Okay.
make it a little bit more pedestrian ready.
Gotcha.
So that would be one of the priorities. Then the other thing is to bring more business down there that is more arts and entertainment oriented,
Sure.
because we don't have that in Medina. Once you experience the square, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you've done your Medina Square thing.
Sure.
And then in the evening, if you want to stay and do something other than going to a restaurant, what is there to do? So maybe Southtown becomes nightlife.
Yeah. I love it.
That's what I'm thinking.
George, thank you so much for sitting down today.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you and your time and what you're doing in the community, and certainly look forward to see how you grow the arts and see what happens.
Awesome. Thanks for
very
being
much.
a great boss. And congratulations on your move.
Edit that out.